Good evening, everybody. Welcome back to Spirits and Ghost Stories. I'm your host, Thomas Aarons.
And I'm Carly Bird.
Carly Swolbird. Carly, what are you doing right now?
I just wanted to apologize for flashing everybody with these big beastie guns. I just got back from the gym and I realized I look swole in this lighting. I can't even stop staring at my biceps. Look at these suckers. Oh, you can't see. Hold on.
And this is now an OnlyFans account, guys.
Oh, yes. Yes. I look like the Hulk, man.
You look very good. You've been working your butt off with working out almost once a week.
What an asshole.
But no. She's been going to the gym a lot. She's been looking really, really good. So you should be really proud.
She's been looking really, really good, guys.
You should be very proud of yourself.
Check it out for yourself.
You should be very proud of yourself for all the work that you've actually put into it. It looks extremely fetching. But Carly,
I look like a man.
What has been going? And look at that, you just lost our one guest. We had one guest, and then you scared him off. Congratulations.
Yeah, because he can't handle these guns,
No,
man.
he really can't handle guns.
Look at these shoulder muscles.
So Carly, what's been going on with you?
Oh man. What has been going on? It's been hot as balls outside. I am sweating like a hot tamale constantly. Every single time I step foot outdoors, it's just like it's muggy hot. It's like the wet, damp hot where as soon as you walk outside, you're like sticky all over. Wish you were wearing leggings and not like a pair of shorts because your thighs start to stick together and then chafe as you walk down the road. Oh, that's what I've been doing. Been sweating my balls off.
It's been really hot lately. It really has been. But I honestly I enjoy that. Like, this is my time of year. I'd rather be hot than cold.
Yeah, me too. Me too.
I mean, if you had to pick.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I'd rather this every single day for the rest of my life than have to go through another ice storm. Freaking hate those. Those are the worst. Do you like to tell everyone what we're drinking this evening?
Absolutely. Tonight we are drinking Jack's Hard Cider, the peach flavored one. One of our most favorite to ever actually use is Jack's. They've been a really good sponsor of the show in the past, and we continue to enjoy promoting them.
Promote them just because they are delicious, not that they have anything to do with the show.
And they promote, and they're a part of Gettysburg area, which we were actually at 2 weeks ago, everybody, which was a big deal for us. Are you looking at the TV or are you looking at the camera?
The TV.
Okay.
So want to see what I look like?
Okay. I created a monster.
I did. Sculpted monster. Okay.
Would you like... Hold on. Flex real quick. I'm going to take a screenshot.
I don't even want to go there.
I know we're doing stuff a little bit backwards tonight. Basically, this is for you people that are watching this live stream, this is actually week 44. But if you guys are listening to this on the podcast, then you have no problem. You don't have to worry about anything, because guess what? This is actually your regular routine. Week 43 just dropped. This is part 2 of the Skinwalkers saga. Right, Carly?
Yes, because as I was doing research, so let me go back to the very beginning. I'm sure I said this already recently. I don't really remember the detail that I went into. I think I was tired that night. But I want to just preface this with the fact that I have been watching Stranger Things. Yes, the most recent season, which is season 4.
Season 4, volume 1, I believe.
Season 4, volume 1 on Netflix. Just ask Tommy if you need to know what season's available, because he knows, even though he didn't even watch it yet. Yeah, I'm the one that binged it. I got through it. How do you binge it, Carly? Oh, well, I go to the gym and I actually watch episodes while I'm on like the Stairmaster.
That's actually very smart.
That's what basically why I'm swole right now.
Yeah,
but
she does the Stairmaster and her biceps get bigger. Explain that one.
Hey, I did arm stuff today after 30 minutes of the Stairmaster. Okay.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Wow. What did you do in the gym today?
You're getting me off track, boy.
I mean, this
basically
is kind of how these things work.
What I'm trying to get to is the fact this is how I live my life, people. This is how I live my life. I try to say one story and he's like, what'd you do to the gym today? And then I usually allow him to sidetrack me and I never get to the actual point that I wanted to make originally. And then I've just got like this inner like frustration because I never got to say what I wanted to say. And he's like, why are you so uptight all the time? And honestly, I can't even figure it out till I look back in the day and go, oh, I wanted to say this, this, and this, but I never got around to it. Because he asks a lot of questions.
I do ask a lot of questions.
Anyway.
But you have to ask those questions.
You do. But you can zip it right now because I'm trying to get to what point.
Go for it.
Okay. So, been watching Stranger Things. All right. What is the most recent bad guy, villain in the story of Strange Things, okay? He is basically a witch, okay? Or like a wizard, like a big nasty wizard from D&D. Our friends would know all about this wizard. Oh, what's his name? It starts with a V. Vecna. Vecna is his name. So he's in the underworld, okay? And basically, I've been mildly obsessed, mildly. All right. And I kind of think about it all the time because I really enjoy this season. It's better than the other ones, I'm telling you. So I was like, I gotta find a wizard. I gotta find some kind of like demonic presence thing, wizard, mythological creature. Okay. Then I went down the track of skinwalkers and I found out that skinwalkers are actually in different cultures and different mythologies. They basically have very, very similar stories, backgrounds, reasons for existing, and abilities. However, they come from completely different places of the world.
Really?
Yes. So the Skinwalker is the beast that we talked about for episode 43. For episode 44, we're going to talk about the Ghoul from Arabic mythology.
Oh, wow. Okay. Okay, you're spicing it up with different mythologies. I like it.
Yeah. Basically the same creature. However, it's called something different, comes from a different place, and kind of has these little oddities that makes it spicier in a different way.
Okay, Gordon Ramsay. There we go.
I don't know. He's been watching a lot of Gordon Ramsay
I really
shows
haven't.
lately. He's all about cooking. The kitchen is constantly destroyed, but he makes delicious dishes.
And I'm also the one that cleans up. So I
2 days later,
so
it's fine. It's fine.
With a show, you need to have like the beginning, the middle, and the end. I like how she said the beginning and then decide, it's like he destroys the kitchen. And like there's no like he picks it up.
Also,
like,
he makes delicious food.
like I could say like, she sleeps in the bed. Didn't say she gets out of the bed, but she's like she's in it. Like, okay, cool. Like
That's
here's the
implied.
thing. It's implied you get out of the bed?
Yes.
Would it be implied that if I dirtied the kitchen, it would be cleaned up?
Yeah, eventually.
You see, so you're saying there's two different things there. Okay, for people at home that are married, do you have these fights with your wife or your significant other all the time about doing the dishes and stuff? Please let me know in the comment section below. Do you fight about doing dishes and stuff? Because I fight about that all the time. And if I could haunt somebody, I know who I would haunt. So continue with your lovely
Haunt our kitchen cupboards.
Why would I haunt the cupboards? Why wouldn't I haunt your ass?
I don't know. All right, everybody.
I would totally haunt your ass.
Buckle down for the history behind a ghoul. You may be asking yourself, what is a ghoul? A ghoul is a creature that appears from Arabic mythology. It is thought that ghouls have their roots in Mesopotamian religion and mythology because they have similar traits to Galu demons. That's spelled Gallu.
Galu demons.
Demons. It is thought that the connections come from the nomads of Arabia interacting with the Mesopotamian civilization and trading stories. The Galu demons were known to be part of the underworld. This is where Stranger Things comes into play, okay? And this is where it's like sucked me into the goals, okay? They're thought to carry their victims off to the land of the dead to devour them. Ghouls of Arabic mythology have very similar characteristics. Ghouls were also thought to have the ability to shapeshift, like our previous skinwalkers, okay? They could appear as beautiful women that preyed on lustful men by luring them into a secluded area, or as an animal in the desert like a hyena, like our skinwalkers from Nevada, right? Was it Nevada, Arizona? One of those states.
New Mexico.
New Mexico. Yes. They were known to stay in these forms until they had a chance to pounce on their victims and devour them. Ghouls were thought to be especially fond of preying upon travelers, solo travelers, or small groups in particular. Some stories claim they lit fires off of well-traveled paths so they could lure a single traveler into a trap and again, devour them. Check out this beautiful picture that Tommy is displaying for all of you to see. It is of your Arabic ghoul.
It's very interesting, like the Arabic ghoul. It looks more like a golem from Lord of the Rings that actually hit the gym a bunch. Look at the biceps. Speaking of biceps.
How do you spell golem?
Bicep plug. Carly, flex your arms. Yeah, no one can see him. But the point is, like, yeah, it basically looks like a golem that's like really jacked. I wonder if Tolkien actually used this for kind of its for his like inspiration for actually Lord of the Rings. I don't know. It
Sorry,
really
I
looks
just
like that.
got like sidetracked the fact that Gollum is spelled very similar to Galu, which is basically the definition of goal. And now Gollum literally looks like these pictures that depict the goals.
Isn't that crazy?
Anyway, mind
So
blown.
Gollum.
Mind blown.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you, Tolkien, for all your work.
Seriously. He's a god. All right.
That's insane.
One of the most important facts that is covered by early Ghoul mythology is that these creatures appear to be born of Iblis, the Islamic equivalent of Satan, which technically makes them jinn. That's spelled Jinn, which means spirits.
So like gin is in the alcohol, but with one extra N.
No, Jinn is spelled Gin. But it sounds the same. Good job, babe. Iblis was thought to be part.
I will be putting that re-edited in there with an arrow pointing to that I actually said it correctly. So
Ding!
because I actually get to edit it.
Thumbs up. Okay. Blah, blah, blah. Iblis was thought to be part of a race of creatures called jinn, creations of Allah, who lived in a world that was set apart from ours. However, even though they were a part of a different world, they were still capable of interacting with ours. Again, guys, how is this not Stranger Things? All right, I digress. It is thought that when Allah created man, Iblis became jealous that man was favored more than his kind and refused to bow before him. He would have been killed for his crime, but his life was spared by Allah until Judgment Day. Unfortunately, Iblis is using this time to take his vengeance on humans. This is likely why the creation of Ghouls is credited to Iblis. After all, a creature who feeds on the flesh of humans and delights in their torture is likely form of revenge from a fallen jinn. What is a jinn? It's a spirit.
Interesting. Those things are freaking disturbing looking. Like if you look at the screen right now, like that thing is gnarly as shit.
Yeah. Yeah. They're basically spirits, demons.
And if you guys are listening to the audio version, please go give our podcast listen on YouTube a try. Like and subscribe to the channel. I would like to get this one up to at least 5 likes. 5 to 10 likes would be super awesome. That really help us out with the algorithm. But we actually display all the photos and stuff on our YouTube videos, so you can actually watch along with what we're looking at. Carly, continue.
Ghouls of early Arabian lore were also known to dwell in deserted areas. People who traveled near cemeteries and abandoned buildings or through desert wastelands were warned to be especially vigilant against these creatures. They were thought to be bipedal, though with a haunched form, and were known to crawl and sometimes run on all 4 limbs like an animal.
Ooh.
I know, creepy, right?
That's
Can
really.
you imagine being chased by a person like running on
No.
all 4s?
No, I don't want to actually be
Terrifying.
erased.
Terrifying.
Oh, we got a like. Thank you, whoever's listening. We can't see who's listening right now, but a huge shout
Probably
out.
his mom. They were most fond of feeding
that is
on
not
young
true.
children, presumably because of the ease with which they could be killed. How
Actually,
horrifying is that?
Probably right.
How horrifying is that?
Linda, if you're in the chat right now, just let us know. Just type something like F because I want to know if that's you or not to see if it's actually
Probably
working.
your mom, but make sure she's listening on the actual Spirits and Ghost Stories Facebook and not your Facebook
Well,
page.
there's only 2 this time, so that should make it easy.
Okay, good job. At least you set her up for success this time.
Because I don't think it's actually going to work. But anyway, continue.
Anyway,
I'll keep track of that.
So they were most fond of feeding on young children, presumably because of the ease with which they could be killed, but would feed off any human they had the chance to cannibalize. Another interesting feature of the ghouls of early legends is that they were not particularly associated with eating the dead. They were known to prefer fresh meat, and while they didn't turn down a corpse if there was no other available food source, they certainly preferred a live victim.
Ew. Ew.
They were also known to enjoy drinking blood and stealing coins. I kind of find that hilarious. They're like little oh man. Hold on. Okay, my mind is drawing a blank right now. What are the little red-headed men at the end of the rainbow? Leprechauns.
Hmm.
It makes me think of a leprechaun for some reason. I don't know why. Stealing coins. Early ghouls were also known to carry disease on their skin, which could have been because of the types of places they were thought to inhabit.
That's just really interesting because, again, like guys, I'll digress for the new people that are actually watching with us right now, and for people listening at
You
home.
mean
If you
you'll
really look,
digest this?
if you look at if you look at this creature, it is really interesting because it does. I keep going back to Lord of the Rings, especially with Amazon actually
Mm,
releasing the new Lord of the Rings thing.
that, yeah.
It really does look like Gollum. And to think like it, this is like Hebrew mythology. And then you really think about Tolkien versus in World War II when he was writing really his outline for this whole and for people that don't know with Tolkien, he created not only like this world, he created back mythos, he created a language,
Yep.
he created surnames for all the characters and a legacy. Like he went like it was in depth. It was insanely in depth and he created a culture, a world, a culture, everything. And then you look at this creature, and I'm like, did he actually study like different Hebrew and Arabic like culture mythology too, and bringing that into
He
play?
had to
Because
have.
this is Gollum. Like
Right.
I'm just kind of shocked. Like, dude, that's like we complain about people writing stories nowadays, and then you look at what he did,
Right.
and it's just like, oh
There's
my
no room for
gosh,
complaints.
it's insane, absolutely insane. But continue the story.
So the next basically cliff note of what a ghoul is a ghoul appearance according to early Arabic lore. In many early myths, there are descriptions of ghouls who are quite hairy. This is possibly because they are known to have canine features, much like our what? Skinwalkers,
Mm-hmm.
having an appearance that is similar to a dog. It would be natural to conclude that the rest of the creature's appearance would have been animal like. However, it is also important to note that there are ghouls in these early myths that hold the power to shapeshift. They are known to transform into beautiful women that lead men astray into secluded areas, which we've already talked about. When the man was properly distracted, the ghoul and sometimes its pack would pounce on the lustful men and devour them.
Wow.
There are also accounts of ghouls who would transform into other animals. While it was possible for a ghoul to transform into any type of animal, it seems that a popular choice was for it to transform into a hyena. The ghoul would also uh, use the form of the hyena to lure
Hmm.
a person into the desert. When they were far enough away from civilization, the rest of the pack would appear and pounce upon the victim. They would then devour the victim quickly. It is also important to note that in addition to having a canine like face, early ghouls were also thought to have a humanoid body
Hmm.
and hoof like feet.
Wow.
Chills.
That's creepy.
These were characteristics that were used to identify the presence of ghouls, the hooves especially. It was said that when a ghoul was nearby, the hoof like imprints of the creatures would be so easy to spot. It was also characteristic to identify a ghoul by seeing a humanoid feature in the distance that suddenly got down on its hands and feet to scurry away. Ghouls were known to prefer crawling on all fours, even though they were capable of walking on 2 feet. Now, you may be asking yourself,
That makes sense. And I pause it there, like because if you're on all fours, clearly you'd probably be a little bit more mobile, right?
yeah,
Isn't that why most predators like there's like we're the only 2 feeted besides monkeys, I guess like we're it like lions, wolves,
ostriches,
everything. That's a fierce
emus,
creature. You're
yeah,
comparing an ostrich to a lion.
they can kill
Could
you.
you please tell us in the comment section below? Do you think an ostrich could beat a lion? Because clearly, my sad wife
Swans,
here. You By the way,
ducks,
she's actually on LSD right now. I just wanted to mention that
penguins.
to everyone at home that she's
Oh
actually
my
tripping balls right
gosh,
now.
as if.
Um, as if that'd be a way more fun episode actually,
I know.
if you're tripping balls. But anyway, continue.
So you may be asking yourself, where do ghouls live?
Didn't even miss a beat.
Ghouls tend to live in isolated areas that are apart from the majority of society. They can frequently be found in desert wastelands, abandoned buildings, and cemeteries. However, contrary to common beliefs, a ghoul does not necessarily prefer to reside in a cemetery
Hmm.
because they seek to eat corpses. They just appreciate the seclusion.
Ugh.
More recent tales of the ghouls suggest that the creatures have moved their operations largely underground. They are said to frequent basements and cellars in
Cave dwellers. Okay.
abandoned buildings and are even rumored to have an underground network of tunnels that they use to travel. They
That's
may
fucked up.
also have connections to the subway and are thought to sometimes eat the remains of subway crash victims before paramedics arrive.
I mean, that would make sense in especially big cities like Great Britain and things like that. Like where they have like miles and miles of abandoned like subway lines and stuff.
Do
Uh,
they?
yeah,
Well, I
they
didn't know
do.
that.
So
Wow.
yeah, now my wife just learned something else there. But no, they did, especially like after World War II, when you had miles of it and they just boarded it up
Yeah.
and they just left it.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So
Well,
you
that's
think
where the ghouls live now.
so? Yeah, I'm just like saying so that like or France, like France has thousands of miles of catacombs underneath Paris and things like that. Because you think about like
What do they use it for?
Paris, just think about Paris for a second. Paris
Wait a
is
minute. Under their city, Swiss cheese?
so guys. Again, don't give your wife LSD before she starts talking. This is what happens, but it's a fun experiment. So Paris has been around for over hundreds and hundreds of years, and so they just kept building on top of it. And so what ends up happening is you have these catacombs that are actually structurally built through the city. And so the point is, there are miles of tunnels and networks because it's like where the old city used to be. And so you think about that, and they've made horror movies about this too, because you have like the boneyard actually under certain parts of Paris where it's nothing but skulls for miles lined
Ooh.
up because it used to be like the old cemetery where they just take the bones and they just stack them to the ceiling. So I'll actually try to get that photo up right now while you keep talking about this, just to kind of set the mood a little bit more.
All right. So, what would happen if you encountered a ghoul? How would you defeat it? Well, I'm about to tell you how ghouls can be killed. There are ways to fight off a ghoul, though it's important to be very precise. Any mistake on this part of the individual, hold on, any mistake on the part of the individual fighting a ghoul will certainly result in death. The most common method used for killing these creatures is decapitation. Ancient ghoul myths claim that a ghoul can be killed by using a sword. It is imperative, however, that the attacker only use one blow to kill the beast. Two or more strikes will resurrect the creature and almost certainly spell out death for the person fighting the ghoul. Because only one strike can be used to kill a ghoul, decapitation is the preferred method to ensure that the beast dies quickly.
This is pretty scary stuff. I should have made this scary stuff in the news for me.
Ew!
So, and then the headline of this thing was
What?
boys lost for 3 days among the skulls in the Paris catacombs. So
How?
think about like all the miles of places like this underneath the city of Paris. It's just bones all the way up to the ceiling.
Just choked. It's scary.
And this was in June 2017. This is actually was like going to be, I think, one of my scary stuff in the news. But anyway, so yeah, this is the Paris catacombs where there's tons and tons of like miles of bobbing and weaving tunnels underneath the city.
Look at all the skulls.
And this is always pitch black, but now they brought lights down here to light it up because this was part of the
What is
search
this, a
party.
museum now? People just go down and look at dead body bones?
I think it's like a tomb. Like I don't think you're actually
Oh.
legally allowed down in most of the
Oh,
parts.
I just got confused because there's a person standing there, like looking at the
Well,
bones.
yeah, I mean, if we could do this thing called reading or listening,
Oh,
it says boys lost for 3 days among the skulls.
so they're down there looking for the boys. What are the boys doing down
They're boys. What do you think they're doing down there?
there? They're boys.
Getting into trouble, probably. But anyway, continue.
Clearly. So, more recent mythology tells us there are several other ways that a goal can be dealt with. One of these methods is to use fire.
Hmm.
Using fire can be tricky, however, as you will have to be able to heat the element to extreme temperatures to char the goal to ashes.
Really?
Yep. Which makes me think of Stranger Things. Yet again, what did those little underworld varmints hate? Fire.
Makes me think of the rake too.
Ooh, yeah. That's a good point. It's also thought that electrocution and exposure to concentrated acids can kill ghouls. This has to be done thoroughly. If a ghoul is not dead, it could possibly regenerate itself and come back to finish you off. Lastly, although light is not fatal to ghouls, it is worthwhile to mention that sunlight is painful, and more concentrated types of light can be especially harmful to their eyes.
So kind of like a vampire, but kind of not.
Correct.
Like it'll mildly inconvenience them, but it's not going to kill them.
Mm-hmm.
Gotcha.
So that sums up what a goal is. Is there any questions?
It's basically a hybrid between a Skinwalker, a Golem from Lord of the Rings, a little bit of a vampire, throw in the rake for good measure, and like Stark Places, and you throw that all together, you got a creepy motherfucker that you don't actually want to run into.
Right, right. But now we know all we need is a sword, and we have to have the
Fire,
ability to decapitate it.
and then
If
set it on
that
fire.
doesn't work, then you set it on fire.
And that's a hell of a process these people came up with. It's like, so should we kill it with fire? No, not just that. What if we cut its head off? Yes, and then fire, and then shoot it with a bullet, a silver bullet, and then
Perhaps
bury it.
that would definitely work.
And it's like again, I think Supernatural did this. I don't know why it's popped in there an episode I remember I watched like a long time ago. It was like a vampire, and they threw the vampire into a wood chipper.
Oh,
And it ended up working. I know it's a little grotesque, but it's like the fact is like, yeah, why don't you just make that?
they
the
didn't
whole
know if it
plan?
was gonna work or not. They just threw him in there. He chopped up. It's like, well,
It
he's not
worked.
coming back. Yeah.
It's like, did you have a bullet? No, wood chipper. Like, oh, okay. It's like, yeah, that's what they need to do with all these creatures. And like, don't be so many like steps and everything. Just
I know. Just
wood
bring
chipper.
a wood chipper. Just
Everywhere
trailer
you
it
go.
on the back of your truck everywhere
Dale
you
versus
go.
Evil.
Yeah. Oh, that's
Just threw himself into the wood chipper.
Chuck and Dale versus
Chuck and Dale.
yes. That's exactly what I
think
thought
these
of. As soon
kids
as you
are
said
part of
wood
a
chipper.
suicide cult.
Yeah. He just threw himself straight to the wood chipper.
I think your friend's got mental health issues.
Guys, if you have not seen Chuck and Dale versus
It's a
Evil,
really good movie.
I believe it's still available on Netflix. Perhaps not.
We should do that for Halloween, like a watch party.
My gosh, literally my favorite show to watch. If I just need like a giggle, it's always funny,
Yeah,
no
that would be
matter
good.
how many times I've seen it. So good. All right. So are you ready to hear the story? It's short, but
I'm ready.
I
I'm
think
ready.
it's good. I am an Indian, and in our village is Rajasthan. Now, Rajasthan is a state with deserts, and my village was like a large scale open land with less vegetation. I was born in the city, but we used to go to the village frequently with my family. They were very conscious not to let me forget our roots. So, as we used to visit the village frequently, I had my friends there, and we used to play on the open, vast land in evenings before dark, as it was not as hot during that time of the day, but it was dangerous at night. Danger is not only animals and evil humans, but also some creepy creatures too. I encountered one. So it was a normal evening for me. My cousins and I, friends, were all playing. Obviously, when you play with your friends, you tend to shout and make a lot of noise. So when it was dark, we all went to bed. I woke up hearing some clicking sound. It was annoying. I became fascinated by it and woke my cousins up, who were sleeping right next to me, and I asked them what was it. They had no idea, so I asked one of them, I said, should we go out and see what it is? He was older than me, and being a village boy, said that going out at night to follow something strange was not a good idea.
No, he's not wrong.
I know. So we just went towards the main gate of the house and sat there listening to the sound. When they say main gate of the house, I'm pretty sure they mean the front door.
Oh, yeah.
Now this clicking was not a sound of something, but more like someone. They were making this clicking sound with its tongue. We were listening and trying to figure out what it and who it belonged to, as the sound felt like it was going slowly away from us. As we were trying hard to listen to it, suddenly there was a scream, followed by my voice calling my cousin Jadish, like I call him while we were playing, but it was from outside of our house. We both freaked out and ran to where the elders were sleeping. We were all sleeping together and open, the adults already awake by listening to the screams. My uncle made all of us sit together and pray after telling us that this is a creature known as the Chalaba. People living in the village have encountered it a few times. Nobody ever saw what it looked like because its true body was not known to any man. They either copy your voice, something similar to a skinwalker, or copy your body, something similar to a golem. Even though you can distinguish the person and the creature as it feels like it has worn a suit similar to your body. Yeah, So me and my family, we just sat down and prayed while listening to a creature screaming my cousin's brother's name in my voice for hours. The next day, we woke up and we left the village for good.
So I'm saving my pennies to get a mixing board, guys. And with that mixing board, I'm gonna put sound effects. And one of the sound effects I'm gonna have is that hell no, 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 no,
Yeah.
hell no, nope. Why would you want to follow it? I don't understand. People are like, you hear this noise. Okay, maybe if you get a gun or something like that, or like one or two you with a gun, you're like, all right, I got a chance. But we were watching this really cool documentary that's going to play into later, which is like called the 411. And like these interesting, like this one interesting scene is like these guys are in the middle of the woods. I mean, like they back the Colorado Rockies hunting.
Like, there's no deeper part of the woods
than where they're at. And
Yeah.
they horse rode in there, and they have this little hut they built and they're sleeping in there. And they hear some weird ass shit outside. And they said it sounded big. It was just different. And they all have guns. And one of those fuckers like, let's go out and see. And let's just go check it out. And I'm like, who? Why? Like, I don't understand that. Like, even if, let's say it's a silverback gorilla, random craziness. Let's just say the most logical thing that would be scary to see in the woods. Let's say a massive
How
silverback
about a
gorilla.
bear?
Fine, a bear.
That's terrifying to
That's-
see in the woods. How about a mountain lion?
Now, a mountain lion, though, like, is a little bit smaller. A grizzly bear, yeah, let's say it's a grizzly bear.
Lions can be massive.
Not as big as a grizzly bear. So let's say a grizzly bear.
Okay.
Grizzly bear is good because guess what?
Fine.
You hit a mountain lion
Deal.
with one shot, probably it's gonna be whatever. You hit a grizzly bear, it's probably gonna piss
It's going
it
to
off.
take a couple shots.
Yeah. So let's just say it's a grizzly bear.
Okay.
You're just gonna waltz out into the dark of the woods to find it.
Right.
That's
You're like,
so
oh,
weird.
that's a grizzly bear. No, you're not going to see it till you're
No.
dead.
Yeah. So hide in your shelter. Wait for like because they're we want to see it. It's like no, let's just hide here. If it breaks in, we have the guns to use. That it just makes the logical sense. Like this is like every trope in a horror movie is one guy walks out
and
you
goes,
get picked off.
I want to look at it.
Yeah,
like why?
But you realize I always thought when we watch all these horror movies, like people are not this stupid in real life, and you realize like
they
oh,
really
shit,
are.
People actually are as dumb as this.
They
in real
are.
life.
They
That
do
is
that all the
nuts to
time.
me. I don't know. That was a good story. It really was, and it really kind of plays into that idea, that older culture, where there's this mix between the real spiritual world and I guess modern society. And if you go to places like India or parts of like in the olden times, like Native Americans, where you still have that blend of that spiritualism and reality compared to like, I don't know, upstate New York. You know what I mean? And this is actually really good. So my Carly and I actually watched this really cool movie last night called The Northman. And they had this very awesome blend
It's about Vikings.
of the spirituality of the Norwegian Vikings and then Vikings themselves. And it was such a weird, like blurred line that these people lived on. And then you listen to this and you think like, yeah, there are cultures. This makes sense. All this tracks now after watching, like there are people that believe this stuff because they're so close to the natural world that it makes sense that this is their reality. If you lived in a small outfitted tribe in the middle of a birchwood forest in deep Russia, and you also had religious experiences with extracurricular substances that you believed in the spirituality stuff, guess what? You might see a big ass wolf and think like, oh, that's something weird. Or if you live in India or Africa or places like that, and you're connected to the land like that, I mean, I just think it's different because I think this is what really creeps out, like the not deer that we actually went off in another episode about not deer. Not deer, and this is my hypothesis, guys. If you haven't seen the not deer episode, the not deer episode was created by people driving to Appalachia that are from big cities that don't know what deer look like. I really think that's what it was because I spent 3 days on Reddit threads having people taking pictures of deer saying this deer looks weird, and then you just have this one writing. It's like you're just a dumb motherfucker.
It's literally a deer.
It's like people are like, why don't these deers have horns? It's like that's like, dumb things like that. And so then I realized like, okay, so what's happening a lot of times in some of these stores, and I'll be done with my rant, is you get people that aren't connected to nature, moved out there into a cabin in the woods, and they start hearing noises, and I was like, oh, that must be a zombie deer,
right?
Because I saw a deer and it stared at me,
right?
Like,
and it didn't have horns, so it wasn't a deer, it was a not deer.
And it's like I shine the lights to this deer and it just stared back at me, and it's like it was scary. It's like, no, that's what fucking deer do. They freeze. It's like bunnies do the same thing. Like a lot of like, but the point is like, so you have people like that, and I think that's very interesting. But then you look at the way the spirituality of Native Americans and the way they look at stuff, and just I don't know, I just find that all fascinating. Like I really think this stuff really derived from people that still had a massive connection to the land.
Yeah.
And I feel like we lost that the more detached we get, because I bet our settlers, our ancestors, had that same connection to an extent.
I mean, the people that believe in all of this have had ancestors from generations and generations and generations ago all pass away and basically were buried on that land. So
Hmm.
all of the stories were passed down were literally from local happenings,
Hmm.
which just helps to even root them to that specific ground even more.
It's just, I was listening to this guy. His name is Dan Cummins. He does Scared to Death. I think it was a couple days ago.
Tommy's idol.
But no, but him and his wife said something really interesting. They brought up a study, and so this is him citing a third source, and he said, like, if you take every creepy supernatural thing in the world, all it takes is like 0.00001% of them to be correct.
Mm-hmm.
He said, like, basically what he meant was one thing. It doesn't matter what it is. Out of the trillions of things that have been cited or seen or whatever, ghosts, aliens, UFOs, all it takes is one to be true to change the whole world.
Yep.
And that is actually mind boggling if you think of it that way. So if you take every sighting, everything for the last 200 years,
UFOs.
you have to bat 0 for 1 billion to be like proven wrong. All it takes is one to just change everything.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's really interesting thing. Like, okay, is it actually going to be a perfect score, or will it be that one time
What if
that
they eventually find a Sasquatch?
or an alien or a ghost? Is that, let's say anything with ghost? And I'm not trying to get too much into people's spiritualities here, but let's say with Gettysburg, what if it is somehow scientifically proven that they are real?
Mm-hmm.
Does that prove atheism wrong?
Well, they think that.
Does that prove certain religions wrong?
I don't know.
Like, I'm just thinking it's very interesting when you start thinking about that stuff. Like, I don't know, the ghost thing, like we did, and I think that's in 2 episodes ago, guys. You can go find that out there. I think it was, oh yeah, it was the tree episode. It was the
Yes.
trees are sleeping
Yep.
that we really talked about that. But yeah, absolutely, I like the second story better than the first. Interesting. Sorry, my mother just like tuned in. Apparently, I asked her to reach out, and so she's reaching out via text message and not actually messaging us on the thing. So that's good to know. Anywho, yeah, it just, if Gettysburg is proven real, like all the stuff we went through, it's like that changes a lot of people's things. And that was like the heebie-jeebies there.
Oh my gosh, yeah. After you experience it, you can't like say it's not real.
No. But guys, that was a lot of fun, and that kind of gets us to our next segment, our last segment that I've actually really enjoyed because it's kind of creepy to actually find this stuff, which is scary stuff
In
in the
the
news.
news.
And on this week, we're kind of delving into something else that we were uh, enjoying, which was 411, which talks about missing persons that actually takes place in where? Big parks, the national parks. Because if you didn't know that there's actually a certain set of circumstances, it's actually on Netflix and all like that, that there is a ton of people that go missing in all of our national parks. And they don't try to keep it public knowledge of all the people that were missing. They don't really keep track of it. Well, this is a missing persons case that happened only a couple days ago. This article was actually June 13th. Another person, a missing boy, Draven Graham, located deceased in Scuggs River in Lindsay. 24 hours after he went missing, 11-year-old boy David Graham was located deceased in the Scuggs River in Lindsay. Police say the OPP underwater search and recovery dive team located his body at approximately 3:15 in the afternoon. Everyone involved has a heavy heart at this time. The story goes into like he was with his mom, and then all of a sudden he just disappeared, and then they found the body in the river. And so if you guys don't know, this again will be linked in the episode description. This is like a running thing with a lot of national parks. And Carly, did you want to kind of like touch base on this a little bit more? Like basically, I can tee you off here. Like the documentary you watched was talking about like you just there, and then all of a sudden, poof, you're gone.
Right.
And you can sometimes show up alive, no problem, but you don't have a memory of what happened.
Right.
Or they don't find you, like anything of you ever again. And
Or they find just bits
pieces.
and pieces of you or articles of your clothing missing. Like, why would you ever take your pants off and just drop them down before you climb a cliff? And then they would find the pants at the bottom of the
Yeah.
cliff, and then they would find shoes halfway up, and then the body all the way at the top. Why would you ever take your shoes off to get to the top of the cliff? Like, it makes absolutely no sense. Even if you were running from something, eventually you would like go back and get your shoes, right? You can't possibly do that. So there's just so many questions on these bodies that go missing.
Yeah, and there's some things that like were really big there. So examples like there were hunters, and then all their equipment's missing. Like it wasn't like their body was dragged away.
Right, their
Like
guns are gone. They
yeah,
find the bodies, but they don't find the guns. But they so they literally search these woods, like with hundreds of people basically locked
Mm-hmm.
arms. Just they would walk through the woods and then they would rotate and then they would walk the other way and they would rotate and they would walk the other way. Basically, they were just like what's it called, filtering
Yeah.
the woods. They never found a gun. If you've got this gigantic rifle for hunting deer or large animals, you're gonna find the gun. It's not like he hid it
Yeah. I mean, think
somewhere.
like if you got hit by a mountain lion, like you'd
Right.
find the gun because the body would be
Close
dragged
to
away.
him. Yeah.
But
Even close to
it
him.
was weird.
Within
Like,
a
it's
mile.
all freaky. And go watch the documentary. It's on YouTube. It's on Netflix. Some other interesting things, like most people have either a mental illness or are old or there's something else wrong with them too.
Yeah. Right,
Um,
right. So they're already
yeah,
weaker
they're already
or
weaker.
young, very
That
young.
really happens too. Yeah, very young or like weaker, older, some kind of mental illness, something like that. And then they just disappear and they end up in really weird places. And that's what's so weird. It's like, it's
Right.
just the weird places. And so I kind of wanted to make sure that this was the right article. It didn't have anything like really like macabre. There's no dead bodies. So I wanted to scroll through here a little bit more. So I did. So we'll kind of we'll finish this out here and getting with it.
This just sounds like a freak accident, though. Like, what makes it
Well,
sound supernatural?
because Draven was reported missing on Sunday at 3 p.m. Police said he was last seen at his home on Queen Street and later spotted on video surveillance walking through northbound on Columbian Street. His clothes were found in the area. Hundreds of local residents took to the streets searching for the boy who was autistic. People searched on foot, by drone, helicopter, and boat. His body was found in the river. His clothes were found near his home on the street,
Yeah,
but his body was found in the river.
that's weird.
So he just
He
stripped.
just got naked and ran to the river?
He just got naked and stripped, and then he went into the river. Like again, so he's autistic, which is a part of the 411 thing.
Right.
His clothes or apparel was found somewhere else, and then they combed the river once, and the article goes into it, and they didn't find it. Then they combed it again, and they found it. It's just weird.
Yeah.
It's freaky, but it happened near a national park.
How recent was that? What year?
Yesterday.
Whoa.
Yeah. So I'm actually doing a research episode right now. We're doing this thing called the 411 because it's freaky, and it's freaky in the sense of like it could be supernatural. And the person that did the documentary is really good because he doesn't try to make it too supernatural. He just like, here's the evidence. And that's what freaks you out is like, he has like all these things that connect, like all these things have to happen in all these cases. And he creates this hypothesis and it's like, oh shit, that's a little freaky. And the fact is like, it's just freaky as hell. It's just freaky.
Yeah.
It's not necessarily maybe supernatural, but it's like, that's a lot of cases where the same fucking thing happens. And what the hell? And the fact is like the feds get involved and the feds just write reports and then leave. And the fact that there's never, some of these people, like, there's never something found ever. And that's freaky as hell.
Yeah.
That's real freaky. Anyway, so that was scary stuff in the news. Carly, again, the Skinwalkers, episode 43, episode 44 in the books. Well done, ma'am. Well done.
It's the goals.
It is the gold and the gains. Flex one more time for the camera. And we'll see you guys next time on Spirits and Ghost Stories. Bye.